All right, guys. So at this point, we've watched a slow motion video of a speaker and wrote down some things that we noticed and wondered about that. We saw a video of a speaker actually being dissected, and then before we go on to this next part, I just want to re-review some of those things we noticed. So remember, with the speaker dissection, there was a few key parts that we had picked out. We noticed that there was I've got a speaker here. We noticed that there was a spot to attach a music player. So we need a source for that music to come from. Remember that attached to this spot right here from the video, right? And there were some wires here. As you can see, we've removed them because we've dissected the speaker. We also noticed that there was a magnet on the very inside of the speaker, all right? And to showcase that, here's my speaker, right? And here is the screwdriver, and as you can see, right, it is magnetized. So there's a magnet to the system. We noticed that there was this element around the speaker called the spider that we indicated. Remember that was this kind of flimsy piece right here that attached everything together. And then on the back side of that, we had the coil. Okay, remember that was this copper-ish metal wire that we noticed. Okay, and then lastly, we had this on the outside of it all, and this is what we refer to as the speaker cone. So those were our most important parts. What we're going to do now is we're going to model the speaker system, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make me smaller and bring me over here to the side. I'm going to go ahead and present here. So what we're going to do is, and I'll right up here so we can still read the slide. All right, so when we're trying to understand a phenomenon, oftentimes we like to think in terms of things as systems in class, okay? So scientists like to think in terms of systems. We identify the most important parts of the system and how those things work together. And we're going to practice this. So this sometimes gives us clues about what to pay attention to and what parts you might need to test out. So let's think about the speaker that we had as a system. We noticed that there's several parts to the speaker that we thought were important, such as the magnet that we referred to, the coil of wire, all right, and then that outer speaker cone, that membrane that we talked about. Okay. Um, what we're going to do is I want you to work on your own to design a diagrammatic model of a working speaker system in your science notebook. What does that mean? Well, let me show you. So on a new two-page spread, so if you remember, we had done our notice and wonder chart on page 21. I want you guys to flip that over, right? Flip that over, and I want you guys working on page 22 and 23. And we're going to draw on page 22, okay? So on page 22, you are going to draw a model of the speaker. There's a few things I want you to have on that model, okay? I want you to show how the parts are working together to cause the speaker to vibrate. All right. You can use annotations, which are just little written captions, to show how you think the parts of the system interact to cause the vibrations. All right. So first things first, leave some space at the top of the page to write in the title, which we'll do later. I want you to include the important parts of the speaker. And remember, those important parts that we picked out include the speaker cone, the coil, the magnet, the spider, and the music player. So make sure you include those parts, those parts in your diagrammatic model. And then lastly, show me how those all work together in order to make it vibrate. And you can use annotations, you can write an explanation, but I want to see in your model what's happening. If you're curious what one might look like, I've drawn an example. So here's an example of my model. You'll notice that I have those speaker parts. So I've got the magnet, I've got the coil and the cone, I have my music player, all right? I have annotations showing what these things all are. And then I have some arrows here showing what I think is happening in the system. So use your background knowledge about what you know about magnets and what you know about coils of wire, what you know about wire in general, and come up with an explanation and a model of how are all these pieces working together. We will take a view, we will view these models in our Zoom later on in the at the end of Tuesday. But again, show me how these parts work together to cause the speaker to vibrate. Okay. All right. So in our Zoom meeting, we will go over what our models look like and we will share out and I'll show you guys mine again. And then we're going to talk about what important parts we have in the system. But with that, you can move on and diagram your speaker in your science notebook on page 22. Okay.